Scaling India's space design and manufacturing has a global hub. May I please request Dr. Vinod S. Chipalkatti to kindly come and join us, President Cebu Saintum Electronic Limited, to kindly come up onto the stage. Okay, here we are. Can we have a big round of applause, please, for our next invited address?
Good afternoon. I was just sitting in the first row and I was wondering when Dr. Kiran Kumar sir spoke about the holistic view of the journey of space in India, and he within 20 minutes gave a complete spectrum of activities starting from nowhere to where we are today, followed by an excellent pictorial slide deck from VSSE on the launch vehicle side of things in space economy. And then subsequently the panel discussion, which really emitted a lot of energy, a lot of disruptive ideas. I was wondering what way I can add value now. Everything has been spoken. But I was trying to figure out a sweet spot, and then I realized that I can represent an industry from the traditional space to a new space and give the perspectives of where it has been and where it is heading to as far as this topic is concerned, which is scaling Indian space design and manufacturing as a global hub. No better time than today is where we can talk about this, because we have the credentials that are getting established every week, every month in terms of launches, in terms of technologies, and we see clearly a paradigm shift that is happening in the space ecosystem of the country. So let me quickly cover the global space market. I will try and not repeat anything that has been spoken so far, so that make it more efficient. India's current capabilities, strategic enablers for growth. Of course, everything comes with its own challenges and solutions and roadmaps and recommendations. A few seconds of where I am talking about. I think I represent space industry, which is Centum Electronics, which has 24 plus years of credentials by being in the space, one of those first few leading Indian industry space ecosystem. We have presence in about last 50 plus satellites, the last 50 plus launchers. We have about 2000 plus years of man years of space manpower, and our modules and subsystems are in various orbits. More than 100,000 of them are in various orbits. The journey is quite clear, from microelectronic modules to subsystems to systems to payloads has been the journey, comprising of analog to digital to mixed kind of domains. And today everything that we do is multidisciplinary in nature. One common thing that we can note is still it has been a traditional upstream kind of a space ecosystem. But today the downstream is one order of magnitude bigger than upstream, and hence the overall journey will obviously be met with a lot of success stories or a lot of goals and objectives set in the downstream. So 24 years of credentials, and things are becoming smaller, more miniaturized, more efficient, more powerful, all of that. So we also, as the trend is, designing, developing good number of small satellites, but again an upstream. So where is the topic? How are we establishing ourselves, or how are we setting ourselves for becoming a space hub in terms of capturing the global space economy? The space industry is clearly going through a paradigm shift from a government-led to a private sector. It is a paradigm shift from government to private, paradigm shift from traditional space to new space, paradigm shift from cautious, expensive approach to a fast-track, competitive costed approach, paradigm shift from government-centric to a private-centric, which means the overall technology development times are shrinking, the overall utility times are also shrinking, and these are the paradigm shifts that are what we are seeing in the Indian space industry or space industry in general. India's potential is immense, cost-effective engineering, talent, policy, all of which we heard good number of different perspectives in the last 30-40 minutes are essential elements of this journey. We clearly see 1 trillion plus kind of an economy that we foresee ourselves in 2030, 2035. Different numbers are floating around. I know every year when a new survey is done, new numbers float, but clearly they are of this magnitude. India's increasing space presence in space sector itself is an indication that we are eligible, we are the right candidates. And the objective here is to explore how we can scale our space design and manufacturing capability into a global hub. I won't repeat this. Today, this is the slide or the information from the decadal vision of InSpace which has been published. We clearly would see from a $8 billion business today to visible $40 billion of business in about 8 to 9 years. And that, if you see there on the right side, we also see significant amount of export being planned in that, which itself means that our thinking, our roadmap, our preparations are all towards becoming global players. No doubt India is a big market, and if you utilize that market, good amount of space economy numbers can be met. But our objective also is to be the global space hub, and hence we see some numbers being already projected for export. Just a quick look at where is the current space landscape. Like I said, it has been in the last 60 years, 6 decades, it has been ISRO-centric, and all of that we saw was starting from a simple, humble beginning to where we stand in terms of the missions like Aditya, Chandrayaan 3, 4, and all the plans that you saw in the previous presentations. So it was ISRO who was the anchor industry, anchor agency, anchor thinker, all of that was ISRO-centric, and I think for the first 25 out of those 60 odd years, hardly any Indian industries, maybe more so in the launcher side, but definitely not in the satellite side of things, definitely not in the electronics industries. All was getting pinned to rocket was being done inside ISRO. Come 2000, the need for number of satellites increased, the need for repetitive payloads, repetitive electronic hardware increased, and then there was the need for identifying few of the Indian industries. And most of these Indian industries, maybe 80 and 90% of these Indian industries were built to print. ISRO did the design, ISRO told what to do, how to do, and the industries did. Few Indian industries, including industries such as Centum, started working on build to spec, which is designing the products with some limited spec and information available from ISRO. So was the case with launch vehicle side, good number of build to print industries. And then last 2020, before that around 2010, 2015 time frame, very few startups started associating with space activities. Then comes the space policy shift in 2020, where it enabled the private industries to launch the vehicles, to develop launchers, to launch their own satellites, and that enabled an opportunity for the Indian industries of any size to stay parallel to the ecosystem and then be ready to develop satellites or develop launch vehicles, and which is what you saw in the previous panel discussion as well, the plans. And this, for various technologies, some of these industries started interacting with global OEMs, either forming partnerships or technology transfers, so that they could get ready at a much faster pace. So this exactly is the ecosystem today, with still ISRO in terms of value and volumes dominating the Indian satellite and launch vehicle ecosystem. Good number of things coming from private industries, supplemented or partnered by global OEMs. So this coexistence is the Indian industry space ecosystem landscape today. With the opening up of the space policy, like we heard, we also got the clear regulatory body in the form of InSpace and the commercial body in the form of NSIL, which are also doing their roles to overall have the common objective of increasing the overall Indian footprint in the global space economy. Not to talk about the startups, I think the curve itself shows, I think we are already hitting the number almost around 180, 200. And that you saw the energy, disruptive ideas, fearless thinking, taking ability to take risks. Many of the startups in fact started straight as satellite planners, satellite thinkers, mission planners and things like that, which was not there in the traditional Indian industry ecosystem. They all started from module subsystem systems, whereas this is a lateral entry. So while this is the ecosystem in India, what is that global space market that is offering? That global also space market is going through a transformation from traditional to new space. And we see clearly some established activities, some implemented activities, some activities which have started, some are emerging. And I won't give details about this because some of them in bits and pieces we spoke in the last 40-45 minutes. Evolution of small satellite constellations, small satellite systems, miniaturization of systems, downstream applications, space tourism oriented applications, increasing the number of satellites, at the same time talking about debris management of these satellites, which is also an opportunity in terms of space business. All of them are work in progress at this point in time, which is what has either started or emerging, and associated technologies, techniques, the algorithms, the smart hardware, the smart processing, AI, ML, all of that is what we see in the global market. And this is exactly what it is taking us towards $1+ trillion by 2035, 2040 time frame. And that's the number which is what we are eyeing on as Indian industry ecosystem. So with what strengths do we address this? Cost effectiveness, we still have a young, energetic, talented workforce who are relatively less expensive compared to the other parts of the globe. Skilled engineering talent, robust infrastructure, commitment to innovation, encouragement by the government through policies such as Make in India, incentivization of many of the activities, ISRO, DRDO taking their role of mentor and enabler than doer. Then of course, industry is forthcoming with their own design, manufacturing capabilities and investments. And not to forget, this has also necessitated the foreign OEMs to look at the India little differently in terms of partnering, in terms of private equity, contributions and growing VC interest. I think this is what we today see as our one dimension of readiness for achieving the global space economy or becoming the global space head. But it doesn't come so easy, it comes with associated challenges. If you look at it from the component or the supply chain, we still have good amount of challenges. Forget about the traditional space which goes through a lot of export licensing, restrictions and things like that. But even generally a mid-grade component which are pretty commonly used in today's space upstream go through good amount of questioning and export licensing procedures. And we don't get them made in India yet. We are far away from that. So dependency on imports for space grade parts continues to be a key major challenge. I am not as free to use a latest processor or a latest FPGA as any other country in different part of the globe would easily use. So that challenge comes. Access to capital and risk appetite. We still are an economy where we would assess the risks relatively with a much deeper focus. Limited infrastructure for testing and scale, because this is rocket science, and hence every infrastructure, all of that is quite expensive, massive, and we have limited of those in the country. Regulatory and IP complexities in terms of licensing, export clearances, they're still time consuming. They're not as simple, as fast forward as we wish to be. Skill mismatch, need for some more hands-on training. We spoke about quality versus quantity. We spoke about talent versus right talent. We spoke about 5 in 1,000 kind of ready to deliver kind of talent. All of that, there is still a skill mismatch. And not to forget that every country in the last 30, 40, 50 years have developed their own space ecosystem. And this market is quite parochial in the sense that while we have our own Make in India, Do It in India, Indian incentives, all of that have been in vague, it has been very well established in Europe or various other parts of the world. In fact, within Europe, each country, France would look at French Indian industry, French ecosystem compared to any other Europe. Forget about going to India. So this parochial nature of the overall space ecosystem also offers a challenge, which means you need to cross that much more barrier to make your presence felt, make your technology felt, make your cost competitiveness felt, to enter that space and then be there. You know, it's an entry barrier, and that is also one of the challenges that we as Indian industries see. So where should we be? If we have to have a vision of being the design, engineering, manufacturing global hub, we need to have a vision with at least these 4 pillars: the innovation, manufacturing technology, testing and quality, and global integration. And if you look at it from the innovation, I'm just shifting my gear because I'm watching the time, it's kicking quite fast. So R&D and innovation, we need to have boosting R&D in areas such as propulsion, artificial intelligence, edge computing, all kinds of payloads which are using these smarter techniques to become smaller and more efficient. Encouraging academia industry partnerships, talent development programs, structured, unstructured, with giving a overall boost to the academia front, making sure that there is a larger interest which is already existing and happening, but I think we need to accelerate them, and creating high value IP in space technologies. These are some of the points that we can look at towards our goal of making ourselves a space hub, a global hub. Manufacturing, we have heterogeneous mix of industries, MSMEs to startups to industries, matured industries to large industries. I think all of them in bits and pieces have been in space. Utilizing the power that each one of them brings to the table is an essential ingredient towards the success of becoming what we want to achieve in terms of the numbers. Dedicated space clusters like the SEZ zones, which have had some success stories, and incentivizing for critical component manufacturing, because like I said, everything is there, talent is there, system knowledge is there, algorithms are getting built, but the very simple capacitor, resistor, diode to FPGA to processor all are getting imported. So I think there has to be sometime a beginning where there has to be a realization of these kind of components within the country. The third is the infrastructure and testing. We no doubt today with the opening of the space economy, the policy enables us to utilize the ISRO's facilities, but there has to be multiple of such numbers which are required. So national testing and integration facilities, development of such at different parts of pan-India, building dedicated launch and assembly facilities, all of these are essential requirements towards being a global space hub. Market access. The most important question any industry would ask is, where is the market? Who is going to give me purchase order? This is where I think some enablement for bilateral agreements, for launches, for satellite technologies, promoting Indian capabilities globally, aligning with international standards. For sure, I mean, you may be an Indian specific ISRO approved Indian industry, but if you have to be globally visible, you need to be compliant to NASA standards, ESA standards, JAXA standards, new space standards. So our own approach of getting out of our comfort zone and complying to these standards, which are not really majorly different, is the essence. And not to forget that there is a huge amount of success story in the form of offset, where we obligated certain kind of amount of business coming from Indian industries, and such defense offsets can be merged with space offsets to enable some kind of a starter towards realization of some revenues in the space side as well. Fast tracking of licensing, public-private partnerships, enabling orbital services and private missions, and insurance and financial tools for space are all the policy and government enablers that can help us to reach this step, what we want to achieve. Space-focused education programs, university collaborations, international collaborations, building talent pipeline and space challenges of different types, no doubt are happening, but I think they need to happen in bigger numbers and at much faster frequencies. Few case studies are already there. Industries, some of us have been working on the international space design capabilities because some of the engineers, for example, from Centum have been contributing to Ariane 6 launchers and then next level of electric propulsion of today's satellites elsewhere in the world. Skyroot's Vikram rocket or Pixel's amazing satellites that we just heard about, Bellatrix propulsion systems, all are good case studies which are enablers to think that I think if we also do, I think there is already a precedence. So net, I think we need to target achieving this objective by 2030 in 3 phases. In the next couple of years, we need to focus on the reforms and the infrastructure. Subsequent 2 years on manufacturing and outreach and making it happen. And the last phase to achieve that leadership in space through consistency, consistent deliveries, sustenance and things like that. So this is what we feel are the paths or the steps. What does that enable? It also enables lateral advantages, high-skilled job creations. By doing this, you will also be creating a high-skilled workforce, GDP and export growth. Definitely the boom will enable other sectors, success breeds success. Strategic autonomy and prestige, most important, strategic autonomy, which is the need of the hour in today's ever-changing geopolitical situations. And technology spillovers definitely from space to defense to telecom and others. While we also look at in the new space, absorbing the technologies from other domains to space, we also see that the achievements in space will have an impact on technologies in other domains. So net, there is an action for all, action for industry in terms of invest and innovate, action for government in terms of facilitate and support, action for academia by training and doing the research and enabling the R&D and the IP creation, and action for global players to collaborate and co-develop. I think these are some of the thoughts, visions and the steps. Knowing the challenges is where we definitely, the timing is best, the timing is ripe, the situation is extremely conducive for us to aim towards being a design, engineering, manufacturing hub, global hub in space area. Thank you so much.